All right, on this episode of Bowks Talking Bouts, excited to be talking to an individual set to compete at BKFC KnuckleMania 3, and that goes down on February 17th. We have John Dodson and Jarod Grant knuckling up, toeing the line. Going to be a great fight and awesome having Jarod on today's show. How are you feeling, man? It seems like you've been targeting this bout for a little bit now, so I imagine you're, excited getting this going.
Yeah, man, I'm really excited. Really excited to be on KnuckleMania 3. Having the opportunity to fight such a big name. This is my first big name I believe I'm fighting. So I'm really, really excited for that.
And I was seeing, part of the, thing I was talking about before, I saw you had some posts around, early December saying you had a targeted bout and everything like that, for an early December show, but that didn't necessarily pan out, and, now things moved to the company's biggest annual show. What was kind of being discussed around that point? Was it, a different matchup, and then they decided this might be a more relevant matchup for you? I guess, why didn't the early December targeted fight pan out?
Well, so it wasn't as big as the fight as this one. So, I made the smart move and decided to wait, because clearly if I fought in December, then, I don't know what happened between fights, that maybe I got cut, something like that, and then I couldn't fight. This one.
Yeah, and I guess one aspect of this fight I wanted to touch on, because, going to be in a bit of a different division here, just going from, bantamweight to flyweight. Do you have to, make any amendments in your preparation going from, bantamweight to flyweight, or?
Just the which has been going good. Resumes as normal. Just training hard every day. But as far as everything else, everything's been going good. Just keeping it the same way I train and everything like that. Clearly training a little harder for this fight, so.
Yeah, and something I've been hearing from some of the other fighters on the card, just with it being in New Mexico, it seems like some of them are trying to get out there a little bit sooner and maybe acclimate themselves to the landscape a little bit. Do you think you're going to be doing that for this one, maybe going a bit earlier than you would for some other fights, perhaps?
No, yeah, I'm definitely going a bit earlier. And just, get a feel for the there and stuff like that. I've been running up, I've been pretty good. I've been running up a lot of hills, incline treadmill, been sprinting up, and so I've been pretty good. But I will go out there earlier and, run a couple train a little bit and get myself acclimated to it.
And we've been touching on this fight and you talking about how big this is for your career. I'm curious what your thoughts were on John Dodson's first bare knuckle fight. Finishing Ryan Benoit in, 40 seconds, so getting in and out in less than a minute. What were your, thoughts on John Dodson's bare knuckle entry there?
Congrats to him. He did a good job. He got in there, got out of there. I don't think, the guy that he fought put up I would like to see it go a couple more rounds, see another guy put up an actual fight with him, see how he does, But, I was a little disappointed that it didn't get to go the full 5 rounds, or at least a couple more rounds, so I could a little bit more. So I just had to go back to his older fights, like in MMA and UFC and stuff, and study him that way. But no, he did. For his debut, he did good. I have nothing bad to say about him.
And that was really the question that I had, in the context of game planning. I feel like you can't really draw a great deal out of a performance that's that brief. So, yeah, like you said, mostly going to the MMA footage to kind of develop the game plan there. So, I guess localized to the hands aspect of what you've seen from his MMA fights, what does he really do well in, a stand-up, pure boxing context from what you've seen?
As far as pure boxing, I don't really see. That's all I'm around is boxers. I sparred a lot of world champions, and I spar, just boxers. I'm not really into the whole MMA world. So, he has a lot of flaws with his footwork, and He just has that MMA style, like a UFC style. But he, as far as like what does he do? He's a fast guy. He seems like he has a little bit of power to him. I guess I'll be the judge of that in a couple of weeks. But as far as his boxing wise, I don't really see him competing with me boxing wise.
And is this someone that you followed for a little bit now? Like, had you already been familiar with what he brought to the table before this? Like, you mentioned earlier that he's like a bigger name kind of opponent. Like, was this someone you were already familiar enough with before the bout offer came your way?
No, I didn't know about him until he signed with Bare Knuckle, and then I saw his background in UFC. So he was a very well-known UFC fighter. But that's probably because I don't really keep up to date with like the whole UFC world and MMA world and stuff. I'm more, like I said, I'm more into boxing. So.
Well, I guess to that point, like just you talking about like following boxing pretty avidly, like what are your thoughts on Austin Trout getting ready to fight on this card? Like obviously he's a decorated gloved boxer. Like what's your, I guess, excitement level temperature with Austin Trout getting ready to fight on this card too?
I'm really excited to see him fight. He's fighting another legend, Diego Sanchez. I watched a couple of his fights and stuff. I think it's going to be a very interesting fight. I'm pretty excited. I'm actually more excited that I'm not the main event this time. So that way I get to watch like the other, like the co-main in the main event. I like watching, after my fights, I like sitting down, relaxing, watching the other fights.
Yeah, I guess you kind of got used to that in your last few fights, just kind of topping the marquee, being that you were holding the gold. So that's kind of a cool part of it. You can take in some of the, later fights.
Yeah. Being the main event's cool. It's really, it's kind of some, I would say, like a lot of people dream of being the main event, and to get to that point and to do it 2 times. It's a really good experience. But now, I want to just sit back, fight, relax.
Yeah, and no stranger to KnuckleMania either. Like, he got that, finish over Brandon Lambert a couple years back. Like, just the scale of how things have developed since then, though. Like, how does KnuckleMania 3, feel heading into it versus maybe how things felt with the inaugural KnuckleMania? Like, does it feel like there's that pronounced kind of growth with all of it?
Yeah, you can see all the celebrities now coming in. Like I said, John Dodson, Diego Sanchez, Austin Trout. Like everyone's getting in on it. It's like this is definitely one of the biggest cards on BKFC so far. And we got Mike, the Marine Richmond. We got Jarod. That's gonna be a really good fight. So it's I think it's just straight bangers for all the fights.
Yeah, I very much agree, and I just kind of wanted to address 2022 briefly because overall it was quite the year for you, just winning BKFC gold, and you got that distinction of youngest 135-pound champion, and then lost the strap, took the first loss, but also became a dad for the first time. I was seeing overall both professionally and personally, what were the main thoughts on 2022?
It didn't. Taking the loss to Reggie really bothered me that much. Maybe because I just my son was literally born a month. Was it a month later, or I think it was a month later, and so that kind of took all my attention and everything like that. So I kind of forgot all about that. And plus, I'm not so much of a fighter to really get in my feelings that much, or overthink something, because I tell myself, I'm young. I did what I wanted to do. What I said I wanted to do was become the world's youngest BKFC champ. I accomplished that. So now I tell myself, I set myself a new goal. Now it's to go get the strap back, go get the belt back, and set new goals for myself. I'm still very, very young, and I already have I have six professional BKFC fights, and I'm only 24 years old. So I really have a lot. I have a lot to look forward to. So I'm not gonna let one little downfall distract me from the rest of my future. Just the fight game. Especially the way I was taking fights back to back to back. I take I don't say no to any fights just whoever they want to put in front of me. Like, I literally fought, Reggie, 4 months after I fought Reddick? Or what was it? I don't even know. It was quick, so this is the fight game. I'm just making a name for myself. You're going to win and lose. But, I'll be remembered for the guy that became the youngest bare knuckle champ in history. Nobody's going to take that away from me. So now I just got to keep setting the goals and accomplishments.
Oh, for sure. Many more great chapters to come as the story unfurls. But I thought your wording there was very interesting because you were saying get the belt back. So based on that wording, you're looking to, recapture the bantamweight title.
Oh, yeah. And I definitely want my rematch, 100% Reggie. That's whether it's for the belt or not. And then I definitely want my rematch already.
I guess the reason I thought that was interesting, saying get the belt back, flyweight, it seems like, is becoming more of an emerging division, and it seems like sooner than later they'd want to cement a champion in that weight class, and this one, like we were saying earlier, being at flyweight. How much of it is it a career goal for you to also cement yourself as flyweight champion eventually?
I didn't think about it until after I'm fighting Dodson now. So clearly, and I do believe that this fight with me and Dodson, winner will get to fight for the title next. So that's kind of the talk that's going around. So now I have my eyes set on that. I have my eyes set on the 135 belt and the 125 belt. So now it's kind of I have my eyes on that.
A lot of great goals for sure, and you're surrounding yourself with a great team to actualize those goals into reality. I feel like Team Slaughterhouse is a team that I'm hearing a great deal about. It seems like that's mostly where you're working. Is that kind of the case ahead of this one?
Yeah, that's been my team. I've only been with one coach, right? Because he's been my coach for 7 years now. So I've been with him. So I guess you could say I've been with Slaughterhouse for 7 years.
Yeah, and I thought it was cool, you had a backstory, how, fighting gave you a sense of direction, finding boxing after having, dropped out of high school relatively recently to that given time there and everything. How much has that, benefited your life overall? Did you always think you were going to get to this level at that point, or was it more of just, an outlet at that time to kind of have some catharsis, maybe direct some energy and everything towards it, or did you always see it kind of leading towards a point like this?
At first, I didn't know it would take me this far, but I knew I wanted to go this far. I didn't have a lot of, young, being 17 years old and stuff. I didn't have, I guess you would say, not a lot of confidence, but that's where my coach came in. And then, he mentally prepared me. And he even told me, I'm going to make you a world champion. And he even said, you're going to become a world champion and you're going to get far and you're going to do this. And then I started slowly developing and building my own self-confidence and stuff where now, I have kind of my mental, I don't fold to pressure. I don't, and now I believe, I could reach any limit now. The sky's the limit for me. That's the type of attitude I have for myself now. So I didn't, so if you're asking, no, I didn't think I would get this far when I was 17 years old, but I knew in my heart, that's how, I wanted to become professional. I wanted to become a world champion. I wanted to do these things. I just didn't know how far I would go.
Yeah, and I was seeing some, older footage you posted, which I thought was cool. You were, 18 years old and 130 pounds sparring with a 200-pound guy and stuff like that. So yeah, fun to see the flashbacks too.
Yeah. I always had that mentality of just trying to prove myself. So when I was 18, whatever guy came to the gym or whoever won spar, doesn't matter what weight they were or anything. I was just starting. I wanted to prove myself,
And yeah, we're talking about when you began on that gloved boxing amateur circuit as a teenager, and you described it as the first love and everything. But I saw in some other interviews you were describing bare knuckle as something that you almost love even a bit more. What is it you love about bare knuckle just a touch more than gloved boxing?
It's its purest form. That's literally how fighting. If you're gonna get into a fight, you're not gonna ask somebody to throw on the gloves or this and that. Bare knuckle is its purest form of combat. So to me, that I get to do that and I get to be a part of that. like I really love, and it fits my fighting style a lot more.
Yeah, how so? Like, how would you describe your fighting style, and like, why do those attributes lend themselves well to bare knuckle?
I'm a very like anybody you can access spars me, so I'm a very aggressive fighter. When I choose to be, I kind of got caught up in everyone calling me an amazing boxer in bare knuckle, so I kind of started pulling away from me having that aggressive style in bare knuckle, so I started boxing more. But I'm a very aggressive fighter, pressured fighter, and I have I can take the punch. I can take a really good punch and not go down. So I guess that kind of all fits into why I love bare knuckle.
And I've talked to some other fighters about this too, and I'd be curious to kind of get your opinion and viewpoint on it as well. Like, it seems like the idea of like fight IQ in bare knuckle is becoming more and more refined. Like, at first it kind of bore more resemblance to like a spectacle almost, like people were trying to like figure out what was going on amidst the chaos, but it feels like in the last couple of years at least, people are starting to really like develop fight IQ and everything like that specific to bare knuckle. Have you kind of found that as well in your own experiences?
Yeah, I mean, I think like in the fight world, like you're always going to be learning, but definitely like finding like what works and what doesn't work in bare knuckle. That's why even like when I fought Reggie and stuff, I didn't take it so much as a loss. I took like, okay, we'll see what didn't work. I watched back. Okay, that didn't work and stuff. So as it's evolving, I think everyone in bare knuckle is finding like what works for them and fight IQ and stuff like that in bare knuckle.
Yeah, and this question is one that I more so just kind of thought in the last little bit, just because I got an email regarding the KnuckleMania 3 presser, and I was noticing that John Dodson is going to be there, and I mean, we're talking now, so I don't think you're there in the area. Like, do you feel any kind of way about that, or is it just inconsequential, like you don't really apply any kind of thought to something like that at all?
As far as I'm not there.
I'm sorry, you kind of broke up there.
Hello? Is that the question? Like, you're asking me why am I not there at the press? Yeah, I'm asking, is that the question? Like, why am I not there at the press conference right now?
Yeah, I was just noticing his name was on the list and yours wasn't, so I thought to just ask about it.
Oh, because I can't make it out there that early yet. So I wouldn't be able to make it out there early, so that's why they didn't put my name on the poster, because I was going to be able to attend that early.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, just the timing not lining up, that definitely makes sense. And like you were saying, you're going to get out there a bit before anyway and kind of acclimatize a little bit more there. I guess one of the last things I wanted to kind of touch on, though, was I noticed a recent training picture of you with a former opponent of yours in Travis Thompson, who also has had great success in BKFC over the years. Like, do you develop a certain kind of camaraderie with opponents and stuff like that that can develop into those kind of like training relationships? And can you, I guess, speak about those kind of interesting dynamics?
Yeah, no, after the fight, I don't think I think the only person I probably ever had real problems with was Brandon Lambert. And then me and him became really, really close, like really good friends. And he's a really good guy himself. But even me and Travis, me and Travis were both talking shit to each other before the fight. And then after, we became like really good friends. So like I never just the fight game. You have to expect, like, I don't get in my feelings when people talk shit or this and that, because like it's a fight game. Like, what are they gonna say? Oh yeah, Jarod Grant's gonna beat me or this and that. Like, that's not. You have to expect certain things. But after the fight, I'm more than open to them training with me or me training with them, or just everything's good at that point. Like, we already fought. Already got a. I mean, I don't think after a five round bare knuckle fight, you're gonna have any leftover energy to keep the commotion up. I think at that point you pretty much let it all out.
Yeah, I get what you're saying when you lay it out like that and everything. I guess one of the last things I wanted to ask too, because I'm always curious about the origins of different fighter nicknames. Like, who gave you the Kid Gotti moniker, and what went into all of that?
My coach, Ryan Perez, gave me a Kid Gotti, stemming from Arturo Gotti. Because, like, you know how I always had, like, my fighting style, you know, when I was 18, 19 years old, I was just, like, always putting my hands up, walking people down, throwing hard shots and taking hard shots and just keep coming. I was just a very aggressive fighter. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with Arturo Gotti, but, you know, he was a very aggressive fighter, a really amazing boxer. So he gave me the nickname Kid Gotti.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely bring a similar, like, energy and approach to it in, like, a bare knuckle context. So definitely an appropriate nickname, but you've been really good with your time, Jarod, and I do want to be mindful of the rest of your schedule and everything too. So to that point, is there anything you might want to add as a final parting thought as we're kind of wrapping up here, man?
No, thank you for having me on, man. Thank you for my sponsors, like OnlyFans. Thank you to one of my other sponsors, Roots LLC, and thank you guys. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, great getting to talk to you. Hopefully the first of many appearances, but until that point, we're going to be, you know, squarely looking at KnuckleMania 3 and February 17th, and I mean, a stacked card, but, you know, certainly this fight with John Dodson is one of the ones that really elicited a lot of excitement from me, and even more excited after talking to you. So thanks for coming on to reiterate, and just looking forward to peeping the fight, man. You have a good rest of your day.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Have a good day.
All right, on this episode of Bowks Talking Bouts, excited to be talking to an individual set to compete at BKFC KnuckleMania 3, and that goes down on February 17th. A very intriguing fight, a lot of implications, which I'm looking forward to getting into. We have Jarod Grant and John Dodson knuckling up and toeing the line, and good having John back on the show. How is everything in this training camp going ahead of this one, man?
Man, the training camp is going amazing. So I just jumped out of a training camp for Hideo Tokido, out for Ryzen versus Bellator card for the New Year's Eve, and nothing can go any better. Like, last year was an amazing feeling, and I want to start out this year the exact same way.
Yeah, and it seemed like a big year in general, just like 3 wins across 2 combat sports. I saw you had the post saying how blessed and great and wonderful the year was. Was that one of the better years you've had in your career, you would say?
Being in the start of the limelight, of course, it's going to be one of the better years of my career because of the fact that I got to go ahead and make so many quick finishes throughout the whole year last year. Francisco Rivera wasn't a quick finish, but I got to go ahead and fight a durable guy and put him away so easily, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the interesting facets of this fight, as I kind of outlined from the top, like during that KnuckleMania 3 press conference, I was asking David Feldman just some of the implications of this fight in the context of, you know, there not being a champion at 125 pounds. Like, was this something you kind of almost thought going in, like you could parlay winning this fight into maybe like a title opportunity down the line, or was that almost like a pleasant surprise when David Feldman said like the winner of this fight is in line for that inaugural 125-pound title?
Man, to tell you the truth, I believe I'm already the champion at this weight class, and for them to give me a belt, it would be solidified more. Like, Jarod Grant's going to be a tough opponent, and for me to showcase the fact that I am the next champion, I need to step over the present champion person. Oh, so sorry about that. Bless me. The present champion or former champion of bantamweight. So, what better way to go ahead and showcase my true ability of being a champion against a former champion?
Yeah, and are you like fairly familiarized with just his game in general? Like, I mean, obviously, just as you outlined there, you're aware of his resume, and as far as the fact that he was a former champion in the higher weight category there, but in terms of like the X's and O's of what he does well, like what are, I guess, some of his better stylistic attributes from what you may have seen?
The guys that he's fought, he literally put on a very good showcase against those, I wouldn't say lesser fighters, but those guys weren't as experienced as me. They came in, fresh out of the gate, and trying to build a name for this kid. And then you end up fighting Reggie Barnett, who is a very crafty veteran in mixed martial arts and in the bare knuckle ring, and saw the difference. We see the skill levels between he has and I have, and I'm going to see if I can test out his traditional boxing skills against my unique, wild, run bunches, explosiveness, power of MMA striking.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a very interesting fight, but I also did want to talk about the, Ryzen fight, because that was the last time we were talking, just kind of leading into it. I'm wondering how the overall experience was relative to maybe your expectations or preconceived notions, because it seemed like you were, very excited to, go over there and compete and everything like that. Like, how much did the experience match your expectations?
Oh man, it was more than what I ever expected, because of the fact that I went out there the first time about 20 years ago, making sure I can go make pretty much my world debut against a very strong opponent who was a champion at the time, Hukari Urushitani. He was the number flyweight in the world, and I dragged him out all the way up to the decision, in which I thought I won, but the Japanese crowd obviously gave it to him. So for me to go back out there and do what I did and solidify a win by the devastating fashion that I did, made it so more satisfying and humbling for me, because Saitama Arena is where every fighter, whoever wants to fight, wants to be. Like, I remember watching Pride and Sengoku and all those great matchups with legendary fighters in that arena, and I got to be a part of that as well.
Yeah, it seemed like there was great energy there as well. Like, how was the entrance and everything like that? It seemed like you were, getting pretty fired up. That was also something we were kind of talking about the last time, just wanting to make a big impression with the entrance. Like, how was all of that?
I'll be honest with you, my entrance wasn't as great as I thought it was, because I came out trying to sneak out a Ninja Turtle outfit and have everybody coming through, and then all of a sudden I saw this dude buy a $100,000 samurai suit for the main event, and then Juan Archuleta came out as a Jaguar. I was like, what the hell? He did like a Mayan performance for 15 minutes, sitting there doing like this whole ritual. I was like, man, I need to sell my game for this Ryzen card. Holy shit! I was so I was more disappointed because I was trying to sneak the outfits in, and then I'm seeing these dudes coming out there like all extravagant. And then the guy who had the first fight of the night, he had like butterflies coming up with glitter, like glitter, LED lights on their wings and everything. All these girls were like all super dressed up. I was like, man, I chose the wrong idea of what I was trying to do, like by sneaking this stuff in, because they decided to get clear by the officials, but they're just gonna let anybody do whatever they want with this. So next time I fight for Ryzen, I'm definitely trying to go big and go bigger.
Yeah, couple ideas cooking already for that?
I have no ideas. If I'm gonna have to do it, I'm probably gonna get like a life-size suit of a Ninja Turtle and start walking out, like making sure it's like a real-life replica.
I saw in one of the posts before the fight, though, you were saying you were going to go Ultra Instinct. Do you think you ultimately did that? I mean, I would think so with this, quick turnaround. You got a big finish. Didn't seem like you sustained a great deal of damage. Did you, in fact, go Ultra Instinct?
Oh, absolutely. After I got kicked in the balls, I made sure I went into, finish mode. I was like, all right, it's either going to be Ultra Instinct or Ultra Ego. And either one of them just made sure I laid waste to my opponent. Nothing against Hideo. He's an amazing competitor. He's a legend of the sport. Only for dude to fight from 125 all the way up to heavyweight. I gotta give nothing but respect to the legend of the game. But in saying that, I'm still the most dangerous striker at the flyweight division. Whether it be bare knuckle, MMA, kickboxing, or even boxing, I'm going to show everybody and show the world that I can continue to do that and surpass everybody with my speed, technicality, and explosiveness.
Yeah, and you touched on some other topics that I also wanted to get into during our chat, but I feel like one last thing, or at least a couple of the last things on the Ryzen specific topics. I thought it was pretty funny seeing that you were listed as 6'2" in the official introductions. How did that all come about?
Bro, they sent me that. They sent me our side by side, and I was like, all right, cool, whatever. And then I posted it up, and as soon as I posted it up, I reread it because my wife was like, babe, they're lying. I was like, what do you mean they're lying? So I looked at it because I thought I messed up this time. Because we know I don't ever really check my grammar on a lot of my posts. There's going to be missing words, things spelled wrong. But she sat there and said, it says you're 6'2". And I was like, I'm a giant, babe. There's no way in hell that they're going to sit there and ignore the fact that I'm a giant. She was like, what do you mean? I was like, they automatically assume I'm fighting at flyweight. Yes. But I'm American and I'm black. So that has to be true. In their eyes, they're like, he's a black dude from America. He's either 6'2".
Yeah, I just thought that whole thing was funny, though. I was like, am I reading this graphic right? I mean, it is kind of early, but I feel like my eyes aren't deceiving me that bad.
Oh, no, it wasn't deceiving you. They messed up big time by putting saying I was 6'2", and I knew I was only 5'3", but I was like, I was blessed with the extra height.
And I guess something I'm kind of curious about, too, I guess this is something you kind of just have to almost, like, play by ear in a certain sense, or perhaps I'm wrong, but I guess I'm wondering, like, when the next Ryzen fight might be. Like, is it a byproduct of seeing how this next BKFC fight kind of unfolds, and then you can more so plan thereafter, or how does all of that go?
Absolutely, because of the fact that the fight game is so interesting and unique. I don't know if because everybody knows I'm willing to sacrifice my hands to go ahead and deliver these spectacular, like, knockout finishes, especially with the bare knuckle coming up right now. I'm literally going to sacrifice my hands to put this dude to sleep either in the first round or the second round. I'm not trying to go the distance. I'm just trying to make sure I make quick work of this dude so that I can make future plans with Ryzen and fighting in the MMA realm. So it depends on what happens. If I break my hands in this fight because he's just too tough and too durable, or if I just break my hands because I knocked him out way too easily and one thing that led to another just ultimately just shattered my hand.
It's just interesting because you're, like, at a high level. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was like, yeah, I don't have any doubt in my mind I'm going to win this fight, and I don't have any doubt in my mind I'm going to put this guy to sleep. I know he's not going to touch me at any point in time, so I'm not worried about him thinking he's going to beat me.
Yeah, just kind of an interesting time here because it seems like you have, like, a good, I guess, upward trajectory towards titles in both Ryzen and BKFC. It's kind of interesting. Like, which one do you think, like, obviously you want to, achieve both of those things, but, like, which one do you think you'll ultimately end up capturing first? Like, do you have any kind of thought in that regard, or not even looking at it like that?
I'm glad that you said first, because I was like, I'm ultimately capturing both of those. Doesn't matter when, I know I'll have both those titles by the end of this year. And the way how it looks right now, it probably looks like I'll be capturing that BKFC title probably before my birthday.
And are you mostly going to be keeping it at flyweight, or perhaps maybe some bantamweight options if those popped up there? Like, what are you thinking about that?
Right now, all I want to do is keep on reminding people on how dangerous I am at 125. Like, I decided to jump up to 135 in the UFC, and look how well it did for me right there. I batted 500 and then ultimately get let go because I made their good guys look terrible. And no matter whoever fought me, they still never looked like they were anything but subpar against me. Even if they got a win, they still look subpar. If you even look at it, the guy who held the title before Aljamain Sterling, Gretchen Allen, I'm the only guy to drop him and make him look silly and make him want to become a wrestler. When he fought Aljamain Sterling, he turned Aljamain Sterling into a wrestler and took his bag and controlled him that way.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, definitely, worthwhile context to put out there, but you kind of touched on some of the kickboxing, opportunities, or at least the desire to do that just a bit earlier there. And last time we mentioned, you were saying Glory had, hit you up with an offer for, like, a flyweight tournament that ultimately didn't really pan out there. Have there been any other, like, dialogue with Glory after that about kickboxing, or?
No, right now I haven't heard anything. They literally just keep me as an open venue and as the gate, because I have my contract for both BKFC and in with Ryzen saying that I can go ahead and bounce to different organizations just as long as I can in on a competing organization. So if I go into another MMA promotion, I'll definitely be in breach my contract, but I can go do boxing. I can do bare knuckle with BKFC and do MMA for Ryzen. So anywhere else for like kickboxing realm, it's gonna have to be somewhere that has no MMA.
Yeah, and you also mentioned certain, like, boxing interests and stuff like that. Like, has there been any dialogue with any of those, like, influencer boxing leagues? I know you were talking about maybe kind of getting in on that there. Like, I know Misfits Boxing is one of the banners that kind of covers that. Like, has there been any dialogue or thought to reach out to any guys like that?
I just leave my door open. My manager literally keeps me in contact with everybody who wants to negotiate something against me. But since I've been laying waste to people all last year, everybody started turning me down. So I'm going to keep my fingers crossed. I'm not going to say anybody's names or anything. But there's a few promotions in boxing that were like, hell yeah, we'll go ahead and take him. we'll see how well he can do with the youngsters, and then as soon as I start laying waste to all these other people, they're like, you know what? Let's get back to you on that, and we'll see how everything goes with the rest of the year.
That's kind of a curious thing about combat sports, though. It's almost like by virtue of how much you're succeeding and doing well, it almost kind of hinders the opportunity in certain lanes. It's kind of curious.
Yeah, because a lot of people, like, I understand that other promotions are trying to go ahead and look out for their younger fighters or the guys that they're going to go ahead and look at as them being prospects in future in the sport. And if they're going against me, it makes it hard for anybody to look good. Like, they might come out looking more terrible than anything else. Like, where everybody I've ever gone against who is going to be potential anything, I made them look silly, horrible, and I made them subpar. So, bringing up the whole thing with my UFC stuff, too. Like, even when I fought Marvin De La Rouche, he's number 3 right now, and he had a record of scoring, a UFC record of scoring that made me takedowns in a fight, and then he tried to do that against me, and he only landed 2 out of 24. So, I just make people's game, I make them look terrible in the areas that they shine at and excel at, and I just keep on doing that to anybody in any combat sports. So it doesn't matter if it's jiu-jitsu, judo, slap boxing, bare knuckle boxing, kickboxing, whatever you want to go ahead and do. I make everybody look silly.
I was going to say, has there been any combat sport you've seen so far that you're like, I don't know if I'm really that keen on doing that, or is it kind of just fair game?
It's fair game, because I don't even really care, to tell you the truth. I like to compete, and I love to win. Like, winning for me is the absolute best thing to do, and to learn a new aspect of the game, I'll be willing to try it. It doesn't even matter if it's sumo wrestling. I'll try it out.
It's just interesting you say that, because I was talking to... Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was sorry. I was trying to hear what you said. You started cutting out. My bad.
Oh, yeah, no worries. I was just saying I was talking to Andy Wynn the other day, who's getting ready to fight on, the BKFC event later on in the week, and she was talking about, wanting to do, bare-knuckle kickboxing, and it looks like they're doing that, Buakaw, special rules Muay Thai bare-knuckle fight. Would something like that under the BKFC banner hold interest for you? It would seem like it.
Oh, yeah, it would definitely hold more interest for me because of the fact that I love to do Superman punches, and that would be the quickest way that I can close distance to knock somebody out. If they wanted to make it a bare-knuckle kickboxing rules, I would be all about that. But I'd rather it be bare-knuckle Muay Thai rules, because I would like to throw some knees and elbows. I mean, we're already tying up as it is, so why not?
Yeah, and I saw an Instagram photo that kind of intimated that you were maybe thinking about trying out some pro wrestling. Could we see you do that in the future? That would seem like a fun fit, too.
Oh, me and my wife went to go check out the Dwarfinators Wrestling.
Yeah,
Extreme Dwarfinators Wrestling. We went out there to go play around with them. Or not play around. We wanted to be entertained by them. Like, those dudes are going out there, and I had to make sure I can show them some love because I represent all the small people in the world. Let's go!
So maybe not you flying off the top rope in the future, throwing Hurricane Ranas or things of that persuasion?
Actually, one of my buddies, I actually did participate in pro wrestling a long time ago when I was younger. Not in the WWE status or ECW, but I actually helped out in an organization called Dynasty Warrior Wrestling.
Oh, cool.
And we sat there doing a bunch of things, and we made sure that we can go ahead and showcase pretty much in the Southwest, doing everything. So I've already I put my toes in it. And if I ever want to dip back into it, I'm going to need my old school tag team partner to go ahead and help me out with this. And it's not my brother, by the way.
I was going to say, is the old school tag team partner a bit of a mystery, or who is the old school partner of yours?
I don't even know if he wants me to say his name because he's in out of the game as the day. But right now he goes by Rocky Penasco Jr.
Yeah, well, that could definitely...
Yeah, me and him used to... he's still doing pro wrestling as it is, and he's gotten up to 200 pounds. And when we were doing it, we were at the same weight class. We were about 145 each, both of us. And we were flying off the top rows doing a bunch of crazy stuff. And now he's just a big old monster. I was like, yo, what happened to you? He goes, life. So it's touche. It's been about 20 years since we've done it, so.
Yeah, that's fun though. I'm glad that you kind of got that experience to dip the toe in. I didn't really know that, so kind of learning something here as I'm talking to you. But yeah, I know it's been fun getting to chat, man. But I do want to be mindful of the time as well. So to that point, is there maybe anything you'd want to kind of add as a parting thought as we're kind of wrapping up here, John?
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to this fight for Bare Knuckle KnuckleMania 3. It's basically the Super Bowl show of Bare Knuckle. That's the best of the best, and I want to show that I'm the cream of the crop. With my brother being on the card with me, we're going out there, making sure that we're slinging everything as possible. Our motto is bare knuckle chucks, and that's what my brother's is. And we already know my motto for life, doesn't matter if it's any combat sports, it's speed kills. So we're just ready to knuckle up, put people down, put them to sleep, and continue on enjoying the victory of becoming champions.
Yeah, and I was liking those 8-bit John Dodson shirts. People got a little bit more time to grab those before KnuckleMania 3 on February 17th, so hopefully people snag those there. But until then, very much excited for this fight and appreciate you making some time to talk, John. You have a good rest of the camp and everything leading into this one, and yeah, thanks for the time again to reiterate.
Oh, no problem, man. And tell everybody if they want to go ahead and dive deeper into like my training regimen and everything else that's going through, go ahead and check out my OnlyFans for John Dodson MMA. I want you to sit there and show training experiences and making sure that we can go ahead and elevate your fight career. I can answer any of your questions on tips and tricks and help it out that way.
For sure, definitely a page to check out for sure. And yeah, again, thanks for the time, man, and all the best.
Oh, thank you, boss. See you later, man.